How much of a factor does age play in the desistance process? What role does one's identity have in the desistance equation? Where do you, the practitioner, play a part in augmenting desistance? Keep watching to find out the answers to these questions and more. I'm Joseph Arvidsson, Executive Director of the Paragon Group and host of the Criminologist YouTube channel and the Criminologist podcast. In this episode, we're going to build on some of the themes we established in our previous episode, Desistance Chapter 1. That was our introductory lesson into desistance. In that episode, we talked about primary, secondary, and tertiary desistance. Primary desistance is defined as behavioral, essentially measured via recidivism. Secondary desistance is all about identity transformation, our topic here today. Finally, we have tertiary desistance, which focuses on belonging. Today, though, we are going to focus on secondary desistance, which is anchored in identity. More to the point, identity transformation. This, in my opinion, is really what distinguishes desistance from merely no longer seeing the commission of crimes in someone. We all have worked with clients who we know have not committed crimes as of late, but they still root for the bad guys in the movies. They still have their old criminal identity. Desisted folks no longer view themselves that way. They no longer think of themselves as a gangster or a hustler, a pimp or a shot caller, but rather as a father, a good husband, a valued employee, or a citizen. Their old criminal self is long gone. In its place, a new replacement self. Reflect for a moment on the various stages you've gone through in your life, from adolescence to perhaps college, your first professional job, marriage, parenthood. Think of how your identity has evolved with those different stages of your life. That is, you didn't just go to college and start taking classes. You became a different person, a college man or woman. You certainly behaved differently based on how you saw yourself. And when you got your first full-time job, particularly if it was in your chosen profession, your identity morphed as well. And more to the point, your behaviors changed too. In fact, once self-labeling occurs, we really see the link to behaviors. Let's think of how we see this with real-world examples. Gang membership. When an individual really self-identifies as a gang member, that is when the behavior changes. The elite units of the military, special forces, Navy SEALs. It is their self-identity that drives their behavior as much as their training. The same could be said of the different branches of federal law enforcement, ATF, FBI, DEA. They take great pride in their vocation and, of course, their self-identity as to being a special agent also correlates to their behaviors. Desistance occurs when the individual stops identifying as a gangster, a thug, a hooligan, a pimp, or a shot caller, and starts identifying as a father, a good husband, a valued employee, a reliable neighbor. Because with those new labels comes new behaviors, law-abiding behaviors. And of course, this is how age factors into desistance. We are all likely aware of the age crime curve. I would contend it is not so much age as it is the evolving identities that comes with advanced age. And that evolving identity is what correlates to a decrease in criminal activity. Where do you, the practitioner, play a part in augmenting desistance, particularly as it relates to identity? For starters, stop using the term offender. There is an abundance of research highlighting the deleterious effect that labeling can have on the change process for justice-involved individuals. And as far as the desistance process is concerned, think of how much the frequent and consistent use of that term hampers the identity transformation process. Offender. You are an offender. One who offends. We take a snapshot of the worst thing that someone did on the worst day of their life and we slap that label on them for at least the duration of their supervision, if not longer. You are an offender. Yet, ironically, the term is used by the very people whose job it is to stop the offending process. Reflect on the worst thing you did on the worst day of your life. Now, turn that action into an adjective and imagine being referred to as such for years on end. Would that help or hinder you from engaging in that behavior again? Other things you, the practitioner, can do to accelerate the desistance process, specifically with regard to identity? Help your client explore and begin reflecting on their future crime-free self. That self-conceptualization can go a long way towards augmenting desistance. And at the Paragon Group, we have specific tools designed to do just that. Reach out for more information. Remember, looking at and addressing the risk factors which lead our clients into a life of crime is one thing. Desistance, though, is about examining and addressing those variables which lead folks out of a life of crime. This is part of an ongoing series on the topic of desistance from crime. If you are intrigued and want to learn even more, please check out our podcast, The Criminologist. In that podcast, I supervise a caseload of fictitious felons, helping them all discover their own pathways towards desistance. The Criminologist podcast is available on all of your major podcast platforms. Be sure to subscribe to this channel as well, and thanks for watching.